Yo gamers, what is up? It's your boy Goldemon12 back with another Genshin Impact video, and I know I have a lot explaining to you, but I'm not gonna bore you with that today. And well, this video we're gonna be talking about should you summon on these banners, being the Albedo and Nilou banner, as well as the weapon banner that we have here. So I'm gonna start with the weapon banner because, as everyone knows, if you like the character, go ahead and summon for them. I will go into more detail later on each one of them. Most people know what Albedo does. If you don't know what Nilou does, well then I'll explain that a little bit, hopefully get an understanding. But if you want my recommendation just off of that, I wouldn't summon on either one of these banners unless you want to use a mono Geo team, like you should be on Geo, right? Then you probably want Albedo. He'll be very useful to you. Despite not having his weapon, he could still be decent. And then Nilou, I wouldn't summon for at all unless you like her. Now, she can be strong, and I will say she's stronger than Sino, but I don't think she's worth summoning for because she's pretty restrictive, or, well, very restrictive. And, well, if you're just starting out, you definitely will not be able to use her until you get enough units that are either Hydro or Dendro with having the requirement of one of each. We'll get into that in a little bit, but first let's start with the weapon. So the weapon banner is going to have a returning weapon, the Primordial Jade Cutter, and we have the new one, the Key of, I do not know how to pronounce that, but I'm just going to call it Nilou's weapon. We also have two weapons, this, I believe that's Xiphos, I'm probably saying that wrong as well, Spear and, not Spear, sorry, I believe this is Claymore actually, right? I think, no, is this the sword or a Claymore? This one's the sword, yeah. We have the sword, and then we have the Wandering Everstar Catalyst, right? The, this weapon, I don't know, they showed off the weapon models, and apparently one of them was a Claymore, and I got very confused because they looked the exact same. But regardless, Nilou's weapon, right? So I'm going to open this actually in a new tab so I can zoom in. If you don't know, her weapon increases your HP by 86% or 1, right? It's passive and its HP percentage. This is important because this weapon is tailor-made for Nilou, like specifically. Like all she wants is HP. She ascends HP, right? She's got a solid 8 base HP. All of her stats, right? All of her scalings are just raw HP, especially her passive, right? Um, and why is this important? Well, this means the sword is pretty restrictive and you don't want to use it for most characters in the game, actually. If we take a look at who wants to actually use a HP scaling sword, the sword users, well, only two of them come to mind, and I'm going to pull it up right here. Let's go. Only two of them come to mind. Shinobu, who actually this weapon could be quite good for because it gives you Elemental Mastery, so this might be Shinobu's best in slot. And that's it. Shinobu and Nilou, right? I wouldn't recommend it at all. Ayato, he has a much better options, and his HP scaling is quite minimal. As for Kazuha, the EM, you get better EM off of other weapons, especially like 4-star weapons, right? None of the other characters really want it. It's not too useful on someone like Kaching. I mean, you can use Elemental Mastery on someone like Xingqiu, but again, you get less, and it's not worth running over other options. And as for other characters that could use Elemental Mastery or HP, there's Bennett. For healer Bennett, sure, but Bennett is mostly ran as a hybrid. I would not summon for this weapon for your Bennett, especially when Jade Cutter is probably going to be better off for you, at least for this character. But he also wants base attack, and this weapon is not sitting at a very high base attack value, and so it's not worth running pretty much at all any of these characters besides Shinobu. So yeah, the rest of the effect is whenever your elemental skill hits an opponent, you'll gain the buff, which increases your elemental mastery rate by 0.12% of your HP. This doubles to 0.24 at R5. And so you can get a very like large amount of elemental mastery depending on the character, right? I believe it's upwards of like, is it like 200? I don't remember the calculation, but Anila you get a pretty sizable amount of elemental mastery, which is very useful for her passive because it gives you extra bloom damage, right? So that's cool. And it also shares it between units or different characters, right? Which could be useful on the two characters actually want to do it. That's team dependent, but yeah. A solid weapon, I wouldn't say it's worth summoning for because you can only really use it on two characters, but Nilou kinda has to have this weapon for her to be like really good. So it kind of sucks for any free-to-play players that want her and that want her to do good, right? You're kind of at a loss here with this character, unfortunately. Now, to quickly glance over these two weapons, they do pretty much the same thing, but basically you get a buff based on how much elemental mastery you have. For the sword here, it is energy recharge for each point of elemental mastery, and for the catalyst, it is attack, right? Which this could be very good on multiple characters, right? This catalyst looks pretty solid. As for the claymore, I'm not, or sorry, sword, I don't think it's gonna be that good. This might have a niche use, but for people who want elemental mastery, it's like there's Kazuha. That's kind of about it, right? I mean, you can't really use too much of the energy recharge stat. I mean, maybe Xingqiu for like a vape, but I believe Reliance Roar is gonna out damage that anyways. So yeah, I'm not sure who would really want this weapon. The sword doesn't look too good to me, but we'll see. I do think these weapons in tandem, like if you use them together on a team, could be very good. You build everyone out for Elemental Mastery, right? Maybe let's say it has the Dendro Archon, they're all sharing a ton of Elemental Mastery, and they'll get a ton of buffs from having these weapons on top of each other by, repeatedly stacking Elemental Mastery. Could be pretty good, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. As of the other two weapons of Weapon Banner, everyone knows what Sack Bow does. It gives you a reset up to 80% chance, right, to reset the skill. Or I believe it's 80% actually. Could be completely like just forgetting, but I know I use it on one of the best characters. It's yeah, it's 80%. And then Rain Slasher and Dragon's Bane. Dragon's Bane is good on multiple characters like Hu Tao and Jingling. Uh, if you have the substats for it, they can hit pretty high damage. And then Rain Slasher isn't too good, although it is kind of more viable now that Dendra exists for these electric characters. So this could be useful. We'll have to see. I haven't done testing on it, and I haven't seen any people talking about it. But hey, maybe it's worth me leveling this and seeing how much damage someone like Beto can do now with the benefit of Dendra, right? Could be pretty strong. But yeah, the weapon banner looks like a skip to me, honestly. Nilou's weapon is pretty niche, and then the 4 stars, while they are all of them pretty good, I would say nowadays, it's just weapon banner isn't something I would recommend, mainly because ideally you're targeting the 5 star, and it's not really worth getting unless you want Nilou. As for the 4 stars on the Albedo and Nilou banner, you have Barbara, Beidou, and Jingling. Jingling and Barbara are both free, right? Everyone gets one for free. They have given them out for free, multiple times. I believe everyone has gotten 2 Barbaras for free, maybe even 3, actually. But yeah, again, Barbara is one of the oldest characters in the game, right? She was here day one. Everyone has her likely with multiple constellations. And then everyone knows how strong Jingling is, and Beidou is conditional. Now then, to wrap this video up and to talk about Nilou, Nilou, what I was mentioning earlier of how restrictive she is that she requires all Dendro, the whole party, right, to have Dendro and Hydro with at least one of each, right? You need to have one Dendro, one Hydro character on the team. If you look at our current roster of Dendro characters, right, we have, we have 3, right? We have 3, and you can't see it because I'm not looking at the correct roster, but we've got the Dendro Traveler, and Kolai. Kolai will be becoming free, and I believe she's free this update, actually, if you beat Spiral Abyss up to floor 4. And as for the third option, right, Denari, he is a summonable character. Now, while you can lose 50-50, right, and get Denari, that's not a viable option for most people. And so either you're stuck with Kolai or Dendro Traveler for Nilou's team, right? Now you look at Hydro options, and there isn't free Hydro characters besides Barbara. So then you're stuck with Barbara on the team. So while a free-to-play player could, theoretically use that team to, start the game out, right, and then throw them on for Nilou, you have to go all the way into Sumeru to fight her specific boss, the Blight Drake, to get her materials to upgrade her, and then you were forced to use her on that team to make use of her passive. Otherwise, you get none of this. It's all completely useless. You cannot bloom. And on top of that, I'd say these units aren't even perfect for her, right? She's got a much better team members, especially soon to come with the Archon. And so that's kind of how I feel. She's quite restrictive. Well, she can be powerful, and I will expand on it more in another video. I don't think you guys should summon any of these banners, and ideally wait till next update and most likely get the Dendro Archon. But as always, if you like the character, summon for them. I can't really suggest targeting 4 stars. You're probably gonna get shafted. Let's be real, right? With that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed, learned something, or this helped you make your decision. And I'll see you guys in the next one.